when you talk about Ghanaians in the diaspora, you hear mostly about United Kingdom and you hear about United States mostly, but you rarely hear of France and Paris, presumably because of a language difference. What can you tell us about Ghanaian community in France, which I presume to be where your organization is stated, Ghanaians in France? Can you tell us about Ghanaians in France?
Yeah, let me first of all take this opportunity to greet your audience and wish them happy holidays. I don't want to wish them happy New Year in advance because I think we shall get time for that. But I wish all of them happy holidays. Now the Christmas is over, and today is Boxing Day. We have some few hours to finish it, so I can even add Happy Boxing Day to listeners in Ghana and in the diaspora as well. But actually, I also want to reach Ghanaians in France in a very special way because I live with them here. And also, as you mentioned, because I'm in charge of the organization of Ghanaians Abroad Association, is another way of greeting my members and then all my affiliates. Now, you asked the question about why France is not often mentioned in Ghana's diaspora affairs, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah. As you rightly said, it's got to do with the language barrier, as you said. But the language barrier also identify Ghanaians in France as it makes it become a small community, and a small community which is also, when I say small, as compared to the other African communities here, because Ghana is Anglophone, and relatively it's a younger community as compared to other communities like the Senegalese community, like the Mali community, and other Francophone countries, communities here. Ghanaians started coming to France somewhere in the 80s. We had some few students here and there, but in the 80s, you had some Ghanaians coming in. It went up a bit in the 90s, and now we are in the 2000s and getting with the 2020. So within the 2000s, the population has really risen up. And, you know, you don't have the type of people that you have in the UK and the US, because Ghanaians went there earlier. And in the UK, you easily get people who have their PhDs, who are lawyers, who are doctors. And it's the same thing in countries like the US. But in France, you know, we guys who came here in the 80s, now it's now that our children are maturing up and some are becoming professionally upgraded. And gradually, we are coming into the limelight. You know, a lot of things started setting up in the 2000s. It started in the early 90s, towards the late 90s, but now it's maturing in the 2000s. We have all types of churches here, all types of Ghanaian branded churches, our traditional leaders, and so on and so forth. A replica of the Ghanaian society now has been settled here in France. So gradually we are moving forward as far as the diaspora.
I've seen some videos where your traditional events have been very well attended, and you know, like funerals and traditional outfit, where I see the regalia of Kente and all that stuff. How frequently do you hold those type of events?
Well, now that our population has increased, we used to do such events, especially when it comes to funerals and traditional events. We used to do that once in a month when the community was small. But now it has grown to the extent that even in a week, we can have 2 of such events. So that's how, yeah. And our children also, including myself, we try to broadcast what we do. We become ambassadors of what we do here. That's why you see what we do here. Others also see it. So it's a way of selling our community outside. And on a weekly basis, we do that.
So in population, In population terms, where would you put the Ghanaian community in France or in Paris, respectively?
When we talk about the Ghanaian community members who came from Ghana, I would say we should be something around 10,000. But you know,
10,000.
now in the diaspora, when you look at the diaspora, you have to look at the Ghanaian generations. Because somebody will come with a wife, or somebody somebody will come alone, later on bring the wife, and then there will be two, and then they will bring forth about 4 or 5 children. That makes them become 6 or 7. So you multiply by the number of families that are created here. So when we consider our children and even our grandchildren, I would say we should be something around 60,000, counting Ghanaians in the entire French nation. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So then let me ask you this: what is I presume majority of you live in Paris, but where else besides Paris do Ghanaians live mostly when it comes to France?
Well, when it comes to France, I think after Paris, you would want to look at Toulouse. Toulouse is a very well organized community for Ghanaians. And then you look at Marseille too, and then Strasbourg. These are places where I know Ghanaians are pretty well settled. We have Ghanaian community settlements across the country, but some are, in smaller groups. You look at a place like Montpellier, you have Ghanaians there, but I don't think you can count more than 100 Ghanaians in Montpellier, for instance. You look at a place like Lille, you cannot count more than 200 Ghanaians in Lille. So these are small Ghanaian settlements.
Okay, so in terms of organization, how are you set up? Do you have Ghana Association of France or Ghana Association of Paris, or the different ethnic group, a Santiman group, a Kwapem? Do you have all that?
That's very interesting. It's an interesting question. You know, all these ethnic groups have their leaders. When we come to Paris, for instance, we have the Santiman Coup, we have the Krobo Coup, you have the Achim Coup, you have the Santi Achim Coup, and all these groups have their traditional leaders. The traditional leader is there to bring his tribesmen together. That's what happens there. And besides that, we have some chiefs who are, installed in Ghana, but they live here in France. So they beef up the traditional, group leadership here in France. So when you talk about tradition, when you talk about ethnicities, we have all the ethnic groups being represented here. And one beautiful thing is that the Northerners here have all come together to form one association. So instead of having the Mampusi chief, the Nagoba chief, and the Sala chief, they've all come together to form one Northerners association. So in that association, you have their chief and their queen mother for that group. But apart from that, there are several other groups. The Fantis have their chief and their queen mother. The Santis have their chief and their queen mother, and so on and so forth. Okay,
that's very good information. Let me ask you this then. In any of those subgroups, right? I can, for example, let me take the Asanteman group in Houston, for example. Within that group, they have the chieftaincy, the chief and the queen mother and all that. But then within that same group, they have an administrative group like the president, the secretary, and all that. So you have an administrative leadership within that same group, and then a traditional leadership within that same group. Is that the same thing you have in France?
It is sometimes like that in certain groups, and other groups are strictly connected to the chief and the queen and the queen mother. So you have groups like for example, in the Northern Association, you have a president, but beyond that, you have a chief and the queen mother. But you have other associations whereby the members are directly connected to the queen and the chief. Sometimes the chief represents the president at the same time. Because when you go to the administrative center of the French government, you say the leader is the chief, they won't understand, because here we don't they don't use that method of leadership in the French society.
Okay.
They will ask you who is the president. They don't even talk about chairman. They don't talk about the chairperson. They ask who is the president.
Okay.
So the president can be the chief, but at the same time, president when it comes to administrative purposes.
So what is the relation between the organization that you had? I think it's called Ghanaian Council of something in, let me see, Organization of Ghanaians Abroad. Now, specifically, Ghanaian Community in France Council. What is its relationship within these subgroup with the rest of the remaining ethnic groups?
Ghanaian Community in France Council, GHACIF, is an association which has existed since the year 2000. And the relationship between this association and the other groups is by, we are connected by affiliation. Some groups are affiliated to GHACIF, and for that matter, those groups which are affiliated to GHACIF takes GHACIF as its mouthpiece. Now, those who are not, which are not connected to GHACIF, collaborate with GHACIF whenever necessary. You know, in France or in the diaspora, we live in a free man's land. People are here for different purposes. So when you have an association and people buy into your objective, then they relate to you, and they buy into what you do and let you represent them when necessary. But those who can represent themselves and do things otherwise are also free to do so. So it's not like GHACIF is an authority, or GHACIF is it's a must-use association. It's an association of convenience, and we do our best.
So it's not like GHACIF is an umbrella group of all the ethnic groups, right?
No, it's an umbrella group open to all. Okay. It's open to all, so that whoever, if you are an individual Ghanaian, if you are a group, if you are a church, and you need GHACIF to represent you, or you need the services of GHACIF, then we are there for you. But we don't go about forcing ourselves on people.
Okay.
That's how we live here. And we do our best to make to be useful to the community. And as of now, I think people do recognize what we do, and we are very grateful to them. And we are happy that we are, being able to live up to their expectations.
Very good. Okay, so let me shift to ROPA. You're familiar with Representation of People Amendments Act. That's now the law of land in Ghana.
But before I go, I shift to ROPA. You know, GHACIF is affiliated to OGHA. OGHA is the Organization of Ghanaians Abroad. You know about that?
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, the Organization of Ghanaians Abroad started with it's an initiative of the Minister of Foreign Affairs in Ghana, the European Union, and then several other umbrella associations. Met together in 2014 in Brussels to create something for the whole Europe. So when we got there and we created, what was created originally was the Federation of Ghanaian Diaspora in Europe. But whenever we went to Ghana to talk about ROPA, we had meetings on ROPA with the former Electoral Commissioner and the Minister of Foreign Affairs. Wherever we went, we were seen as a unique voice from Europe, and they were asking us about the voices of the other 5 continents. So we decided, as I was elected the president, so I asked my people that, look, we can't do much with the Federation of Ghanaians Diaspora in Europe alone. So we need to open up, and that is what made us open up. We have challenges, but we are making some strides, and that's about it. So now we can talk about ROPA now.
Okay. So Organization of Ghanaians Abroad, do you have relation with, or shall I say, do you have membership in this side of the Atlantic, say North America, the United Mexico and Canada?
Yeah.
You do.
Gradually, it's not been easy to set it up, but now we have membership from the 5 continents. Everybody's in there, and we have dignity. And then when we come to our group, even on our social media platform, we have high-level dignitaries in Ghana on the platform. I wouldn't want to mention their names here because I don't know if they will feel comfortable with that. But actually, we've been recognized. We did very well at the last homecoming summit. You know, as the president, I have written a book on the diaspora, a call for a ministry of Ghanaians in foreign lands, with 2 subsidiary parliamentary seats from each continent. So it was during the last homecoming summit in Accra. It was an opportunity for me to talk about it, and I talked in the name of myself as the author, and also in the name of the Organization of Ghanaians Abroad. And it became a reference, a huge reference during that homecoming summit. And I just want to add that this book was featured in the last African book launch at UNESCO, and it drew the attention of all the Africans who participated in that
very
book
good
launch.
So now let's talk about ROPA. What do you think of it, and why do you think it has been on the shelf for so long without being implemented?
This question has several answers. You know, I think there's a lot of politics around this issue of ROPA, this desire for Ghanaians abroad to take part in civic rights, as in voting in Ghana, choosing the president and others in Ghana. You know, this was an initiative of President Kufuor, right? ROPA.
That's correct.
Was under. Yes.
Yeah, it was passed under his presidency. Yes.
Yeah, but he himself couldn't implement it before he left office.
Well, he passed it. Well, he passed it. He signed it into law February of 2006, two whole years before the election of 2008. So you can say that he had up to about 3 years to implement it, but it wasn't implemented. But specifically, I want to hear your views on 2 things. Why do you think it hasn't been implemented? And secondly, when it is implemented, how do you foresee the logistical details in France where you live?
Oh, as for the logistical details, I don't think it's going to be difficult. It's not going to be difficult because we have our embassy here, and we have, strong communities all around the country. So when it comes to voting, getting people to take care of business here, it's not going to be difficult. I think it's got to do more with the political manipulations. You know, the Kufuor government brought it. It was succeeded by another government, a government of the other divide. You know, I don't do partisan politics, so I don't want to be hitting on divisions between political leaders of Ghana.
No problem.
Yeah, but it's a secret to nobody. Kufuor had it, and then after Kufuor, it was the other divide of the Ghana political NPP, and then we got NPC.
Mills and Mahama government.
The Mills and Mahama government, they wouldn't want to buy, or they didn't buy into what Kufuor got voted for the diaspora. This might have a different look at it. You know, somebody told me that politics is all about numbers. See, so sometimes when people are in office, they really look at where their interests are. How do we maintain our position? If we bring in the diasporans, are they going to vote for us? Are they going to vote for us? Are we going to win with them? Or we are going to bring them, and that is going to make us lose. So these are things that these political groups, I presume, ponder over before they do anything. So that's a reason why this thing.
You see, when listening to you, it sounds like I can tell you this, that the president Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo has said on many occasions that he wants to see it implemented. That's one, from the NPP side. And from the NDC side, I haven't spoken to many, but I can tell you this. I met Koku Anyidohu, who used to be the deputy, I don't know if he still is the deputy general secretary of the NDC. And I met him one time and I asked him what he thought about ROPA. And the first thing that he said is, aren't they Ghanaians? They should vote. Okay, so it seems to me that if this party wants it done, this other also party wants it done, the question now becomes, why hasn't it been implemented?
Yeah, but German, do you think that politicians always say what they think? Did they really tell us what they would want to see happen? You know, in politics, a lot of time you tell people what they want to hear. I'm not referring to anybody. I'm not here to criticize anybody.
I get that.
Yeah,
I get that. So now,
what you want.
There's a
okay. Now, when it comes to implementation,
now there's a group in New York. You're familiar with a group in New York that has sued the Electoral Commission, and the court has maintained, ordered the Electoral Commission to implement it.
Yeah.
And now it's still a question mark. But I'm happy to see that. Let me talk about France. I spoke with the previous deputy commissioner at the EC, Nana Safo Kantanka, and he said there was part of their rules and regulation state that anywhere you can prove that there are a minimum of 500 Ghanaians, there can be a polling station there. And so when you look at France, I know we won't have any problem with having polling stations in Paris. But what about Marseille and Toulouse and all those other places? Do you think you have 500 people in each of those places to warrant placing a polling station in those places?
Easily. We have more than 500 people in Toulouse, more than 500 Ghanaians in Marseille, and more than 500 Ghanaians in Paris as well. And the other communities can join these giant communities when it comes to the election. Okay. But I think there's something that needs to be worked on. I don't know how detailed. I'm not very, and I don't know how the details, the exact details of the ROPAL law. But what I can say is that for it to be well implemented, I want to refer Ghanaians to my book. You know, what is ROPAL accent? Are we just going to vote? Because I live in Paris. What type of election am I going to participate in? Am I going to elect the president, or I'm going to sit here and elect? I'm from Asante Achim Domiabra. Am I going to sit here and elect a president and the MP of Asante Achim Domiabra? It's a question that we need to answer.
Well, that's interesting. Let me use that. Let me use that question to transition to.
My book is saying that we need to get parliamentary seats. I didn't want to be greedy, so I asked for 2 parliamentary seats for each continent. So if I sit here and I participate in Ghana's elections, Ghana's general election, and I'm allowed to vote for my president, and also I'm allowed to vote for a parliamentarian who will represent me in parliament, then that will be a balanced exercise. In France, to take France as a reference.
Honorable, I have good news for you. I have good news for you. I tell you that in discussion with the Deputy Electoral Commissioner, Dr. Bosman Asari, I can tell you that they are indeed open to that suggestion in terms of having parliamentary seats. They're open to that. But you see, we also, I can also, since you live in France, I know that your fellow Africans, Senegalese, they vote in France, right? In Senegalese election.
Yeah, exactly.
And in their case, they have 165 legislative seats in Senegal. Of the 165, 15 of them have been designated for Senegalese in the diaspora. So
that's
15 You see what I'm saying? So that is a discussion that I think is gaining ground slowly. And I want to thank you so much for your time. This has been a conversation between Diaspora Weekly on Diaspora Network Television with Honorable Michael Osei Mensah from Paris.